something is there. So there's a shaft going out. So this time the shaft is connected to a motor. So it's some sort of a power source. So the power input is torque into angular velocity. So now again from the energy equation, we can easily write that the specific work is equal to E2 minus E1. And the power input is equal to the mass flow rate into specific work. See, under fluid machines, you have hydraulic machines and thermal machines. So there is a small difference between them. We'll see that. See, under hydraulic fluid machines, the fluid is a liquid. So in this case, I have taken a pump where the energy is added to a liquid medium. So again, the similar schematics, an entry pipe, exit pipe, a casing is there, and you have the shaft coming out and connected to the motor. As it is a pump, it is a machine where energy is added. So you have the motor power P in, torque into angular velocity. Now at 1, we think of the total head denoted by H1, which has two components, the pressure component and the velocity component. So we are familiar with that. This one is the pressure head, the second one is the velocity head. At outlet, you have H2 is equal to P2 by rho g plus V2 square by 2g. Now specific energy at 1 is denoted by E1 equal to GH1. Look at the units. H will have the unit of meters. G is meter per second square. So obviously the product will give you meter square per second square, which is the unit of specific energy. Similarly, at exit, the specific energy is E2 equal to GH2. So it can be written that the specific work is equal to the change in the energy level, so which is equal to E2 minus E1, and thus you get G into H2 minus H1. And the power supplied is equal to m dot into WSP. So next we are going into the thermal fluid machines. We have taken the case of a compressor where the medium is a gas. Again, it is a shaft power absorbing machine. So you have the input power P in equal to torque into angular velocity. Now here the energy at inlet denoted by E1, that is H1 plus V square by 2, where H is the enthalpy, which is equal to Cp into T. Now this H1 plus V1 square by 2 can be combinedly written as H01, which is called the stagnation enthalpy. Okay, those of you who have taken compressible fluid flow must be very familiar with the stagnation properties. Others might have also studied maybe in thermodynamics or in some place. Okay, so H naught is equal to Cp into T naught. Then at the exit, the stagnation enthalpy is H naught 2, which is H2 plus V2 square by 2. Now from the energy equation we can write specific work is equal to change in the energy level delta E, which is equal to H naught 2 minus H naught 1, which can be written as delta H naught 1, which is equal to Cp into delta T naught. Okay, power equal to m dot into WSP. Again, something about this continuity equation. When I write m dot 1 equal to rho 1 A1 V1, it is not the full continuity equation. M dot 1 is equal to rho 1 A1 V1. If I write, that is the mass flow rate. But when I write m dot 1 equal to m dot 2, that is the continuity equation, which is equal to rho heavy, because continuity equation expresses conservation of mass. We should say that the mass flow rate at inlet is equal to mass flow rate at exit. Any questions so far? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Any question?
No, sir. No, sir.
Okay. So next one is the real important thing. We are trying to derive the equation, Euler turbomachinery equation. So for that, I've selected the centrifugal pump, which definitely you would have seen in the fluid machines laboratory, though you might not have seen the impeller or inside of the casing and all those things. You will have some idea about it. Okay, the schematic is given. I've given two views. Okay, so one view, it's the view containing the axis. This is the next one is the transverse view. So this centrifugal pump is used for pumping liquids. I've taken, pumping of water. So you have an impeller inside a casing. The impeller is connected to the motor by a shaft, and the shaft power, torque into angular velocity, is supplied by the motor. So there's a casing around. This casing has a very peculiar shape. It's called a volute casing or spiral casing. You will see that the cross-sectional area, it will go on increasing from some point here, okay, from to delivery. So you can see in the diagram where the axis is shown, maybe meridional diagram. The bottom you will see a small, slightly bigger circle. Small in the top you see a slightly smaller circle. It indicates the casing has varying cross sections, more or less circular. The fluid from the impeller will go out as the impeller is rotated and finally collected in the casing, and it goes out. So you have the suction pipe, the delivery pipe. In the bottom of the suction pipe, you have a strainer with foot valve, some filter, and a valve. The red line here symbolically indicates a flap. So it can fall down and close, it can lift up and allow water to go up. Okay, any doubt about the centrifugal pump basic construction? Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we'll see further. So in these pumps, there is some operation called priming. Before the pump is switched on, I mean the electric motor is switched on, the suction pipe and the casing are filled with the liquid to be pumped. This operation is called priming. For this purpose, a foot valve is provided at the bottom of the suction pipe, which permits only upward flow. So initially, if you pour the liquid by some method, there are different methods, so that up to the casing, complete casing and suction pipe when you have water. Now we switch on the motor, the pump will operate. Now, if you do not do that, why the pump will not be able to say pump the water? So this is something to think about. Can you give some answer for that?
At the start, it'll have only air then, so it might overspeed because of excess torque.
Well,
Or
you are
low torque.
overspeeding, all those things, characteristics of the motor. Okay. Normal induction motor, it will be a torque speed characteristics. Okay.
It will not be able to generate necessary pressure difference for lifting up the water.
Why?
Because in the start, if there is water, air is compressible and it goes into compressing the air rather than creating the pressure difference.
The air will be compressed. Huh?
Yes, sir. Whereas water is, liquids are incompressible and then which is pumped up.
You are all trying to give reasons, but maybe intuitively you feel that it will not work, isn't it? So yes. You would have experienced somewhere, or somewhere you have heard, and you feel that it will not work. Okay, so it doesn't work. You'll find that proper suction is not there. One case it is air, the other case when it is filled with water, it is water. So the suction head developed will be a function of the, say, the liquid, because for when it rotates at a particular speed, it will produce a particular amount of head. So when this head is head of water, that is a lot of pressure. But when this head is head of air, it is very, very small pressure, because basically the pressure and head relationship is pressure is equal to H into rho into G. The density ratio between water and air is almost 1000:1. Okay, so these are the reasons. We'll see. Now, the next one is the Euler turbomachinery equation. So to derive this equation, I have taken the flow through the centrifugal impeller. So I have two views of the impeller in the top here. So this one, the first view on the left hand side, that is the meridional view. The other one is the transverse view. You find that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 blades. So it is actually, the impeller is two circular plates, one on the rear connected to the shaft, one on the front with a large hole for water to enter, through which water enters. Now these two plates are held apart along in the axial direction by the plates, the blades. So the blade will have maybe different thickness. At exit it may be, say, some B2, which is smaller than the thickness at the width at inlet, which is B1. Okay, or in some cases the two plates, the rear one and the front one, they could be just parallel, kept apart by a distance B. Okay, now for deriving the turbomachinery equation, we should know something about the velocities involved. Okay, now you find that the enlarged view of the impeller. So it's some sort of a partial view of the impeller. A blade is shown, and the impeller is rotating at an angular velocity omega. The water enters at point 1, leaves at point 2. At point 1, I've drawn a velocity triangle, because this C1, W1 and U1 are velocities. Similarly, U2, C2, W2, they are velocity, of which U is the blade tip or blade surface velocity, which is nothing but the radius R2 multiplied by omega. Similarly, U1 is the blade tip velocity at 1, which is equal to the radius R1 multiplied by omega. So the fluid enters with the velocity C1 at inlet. It leaves out with the velocity C2 at outlet. Now the other velocity W1 and W2, you find that they are directed or drawn tangential to the blade tips, or the tangential to the blades at their tip. Okay, and some angles are indicated. The two angles are indicated with respect to the blade velocity vector u. So the velocity c1, which we say the absolute velocity of fluid, makes an angle alpha 1. The velocity w1, which is relative velocity at 1, makes an angle beta 1. Similarly, at exit you have W2, U1, U2 and C2. We have also indicated a component of velocity in the radial direction, which is denoted by CF. At exit it is CF2, at inlet it is CF1. Any questions in this?
No, sir.
Okay, I'll go to the next one. So this is an intermediate piece of information for the derivation, because here we will actually try to find out the torque required for bringing out a change in the velocities. That is the general method of the derivation. Now, similar to torque, we have force. So for solid bodies, force is equal to rate of change of momentum, and torque is equal to rate of change of angular momentum. Angular momentum is also equal to moment of momentum. These are all some fundamentals which you have studied in 12th and maybe in engineering mechanics. Okay, so you may have to recollect this. So torque is equal to rate of change of angular momentum, and angular momentum is moment of momentum. For a fluid flow system, we write force is equal to change of momentum flux, and momentum flux is m dot into velocity v. So there it is rate of change of moment, not just change of momentum, but rate. So it is mv the whole d by dt of mv. Here that dt is combined with the mass, so that I have m dot into v. So for torque, a similar expression is torque is equal to change of angular momentum flux. Okay, we'll come to that. Now, using this idea, let us try to find out the fluid jet force on a plate. So you have a jet with a mass flow rate m dot and a velocity v. It is hitting normally on a plate, okay, and the direction indicated is x. We have to estimate the force acting on the plate. So this force in the x direction on the fluid is given by m dot v2x minus m dot v1x, because force is change of momentum flux. Change is always final minus initial. Final momentum flux minus the initial momentum flux. This is the force on the fluid. The force on the plate denoted by x Fxp is equal to minus Fxf. So that is equal to m dot v1x minus m dot v2x. Now we find that the fluid velocity in the direction of x after impact is 0. That is what I have indicated by v2x is equal to 0. At entry here, the initial x component of velocity is nothing but the jet velocity v. Okay, so I get Fxp is equal to m dot v in the direction of x. Now we have given some explanation, why it is m dot v1x minus m dot v2x. Okay, because from the basic equation, the force on the fluid is given as m dot v2x minus m dot v1x. But when you think of the force on the plate, even intuitively, it should be like this only, m dot v, and the force is in the direction of v only on the plate. Okay. So this is the final part of the derivation. Again, you see the two views of the impeller. Okay, the velocities at 1 and 2 are indicated. At 1 it is C1 and not marked here. At 2 it is C2. One thing I have done is the velocities had been resolved into two components. One denoted by Cu2, which is in the direction of the blade velocity u2. The other one is Cf2, perpendicular to the u direction. Similarly here at entry, Cu1 and Cf1 are indicated. Now coming back, the torque should be change in angular momentum flux. So first we have written the angular momentum flux equation. That is at inlet it is m dot Cu1 into R1. Okay. So it is nothing but the moment of momentum flux. M dot Cu1 is the momentum, and when I multiply by R1, it is moment. So moment of momentum flux, and it has to be the tangential momentum. See, I have not taken C2, it is Cu2, because torque is given by changes in the momentum in this direction only. Next line is angular momentum flux at exit. That is equal to m dot Cu2 into R2. Again, momentum flux at exit. M dot Cu2 into R2 gives you moment of momentum flux. Now torque is equal to change in angular momentum flux. So it is m dot Cu2 R2 minus m dot Cu1 R1. See here you see torque, final momentum flux minus initial momentum flux. We are trying to get the torque acting on the fluid. Okay. Obviously, the torque acting on the solid system will be opposite to that. Now power is equal to torque into angular velocity. So torque multiplied by omega, that is m dot Cu2 R2 minus m dot cu1 r1 into omega, where omega is the angular velocity. Now r2 into omega will give me the blade velocity u2. r1 into omega will give me the blade velocity u1. Hence, I can write power is equal to m dot into cu2 u2 minus cu1 u1. And specific work by definition is power for unit mass flow rate. So power by m dot is equal to cu2 u2 minus cu1 u1. So that I write specific work is equal to delta of u cu, that means it is equal to u cu2 minus u cu1. This is the Euler turbomachinery equation. That is the only equation which helps us to find out the specific work. Now, what exactly is the Euler turbomachinery equation? Okay. So this Euler turbomachinery equation tells you what are all the changes in the velocities required for a given energy transfer. See, the energy transfer, the specific energy, that is equated to specific work. Okay, you have a machine where this specific energy can be transferred by means of dynamic action. So that is a turbo machine. So in a turbo machine, for bringing out this change in energy, the velocities changes. How velocity should be changed, that is given by the Euler equation. So it's a very, very important equation for turbines, pumps, or any machine. That is an equation, the important equation. Any doubt in this?
No, sir.
Okay, so the limitations, so it's a very simple equation. It is a one-dimensional equation. That means, see, you have the inlet and exit, and we say that you have a single velocity c1 there. But now you know that anywhere, this single velocity concept is not there. Even if you take a pipe at the core, you will have a maximum velocity, and as you move towards the walls, the velocity will decrease. So here also, the actual changes in the velocities will be there from one point to another on the same radius. Exit also, there are a lot of complications, but it is derived from the basic principle, and always, one will have an efficiency term whose value will be known by practice, so that one can design efficient pumps for a given duty. So if some given duty is given, what is the specific work to be done, and some details like what are the fluid velocities, for example, the flow velocities. Maybe some limitations like 4 meters per second, 5 meters per second. If that is given, very easily one can design an impeller, okay, which will be reasonably good. One need not really go for a three-dimensional analysis, CFD analysis, and design an impeller. But as such, now software must be available for designing all this. Okay. Now there are, see, I have only this many slides. You have any general questions? Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Hello?
Sir.
So any question related to this?
Sir, can you explain what is U1 and U2 again?
U1 is the blade tip velocity. When a rotor rotates, okay, at each point you will have the blade velocity given by radius into angular velocity, and if
Oh,
omega is nothing but pi dn by 60.
okay, sir. Yes, understood.
Now, see the centrifugal pumps. This is one simple type. We will have so many types, very small ones, very large ones. Can you tell can you guess the type of materials used for the construction of the impeller? What all materials could be used?
Cast iron.
Cast iron, then only cast iron.
Mainly some materials to avoid corrosion because water is involved.
So corrosion is there. See about the application. One big application is chemical process industries, which I don't know whether any of you have visited or not. Chemical and petroleum and all those places where you have so many pumps. So in chemicals, for a particular chemical, if you want to pump, you have to really select the materials. So charts are available for what material, for what chemical, what should be the material for the impeller. Coated impellers are there, rubber coated, or so many types are there. Okay, because otherwise this type of corrosion and other issues are also there. See, in pump, there is one important thing called cavitation and limitations in the suction. See, when you have the centrifugal pump, okay, on the suction side, if the water level falls below about some 8.5 meters, the pump will not be able to pump. So you have the axis of the motor or the impeller. So below that, if the water level falls by about 8 to 8.5 meters, the pump will not pump. So what could be the reason? Okay. So these are all, suction limitations. Actually, the water flowing up through the suction pipe is by the atmospheric pressure acting on the water surface. Okay. Now, what is the atmospheric pressure head in water column? See, 1 atmosphere
10 meters.
is equal to around
10.3.
10 point something or 10 meters of water column. So up to 10 meters only this atmospheric pressure can push the water up. So when you raise that, as I said around 8.5 like that, there are other losses in the strainer and other places, pipe loss, and finally the pressure at entry to the pump impeller will be very, very less. Okay, very close to absolute zero. Now, before that, what will happen is the water will boil, okay, or it will become vapor. So you have what is called the vapor pressure. When the pressure falls below that, the water will vaporize. This vapor pressure is a function of the temperature. See, when the temperature is 100 degrees, the vapor pressure, the saturated vapor pressure is 1 atmosphere. That is why in atmospheric pressure, when you heat water at 100 degrees, it boils. No, this boiling will take place at lower temperatures when the pressure is below atmosphere. So when the pressure is, for each temperature for 20 degrees, maybe a pressure head of about 1 meter, the water will boil. So you will get vapor. So this process, formation of the vapor, then vapor, mixed with water entering the impeller, and subsequently at some place the vapor will condense. And in that place where it condenses, you find that the material of the impeller is damaged, eaten away. Okay, so this particular phenomena, okay, destructive phenomena. It has an interesting name. Can you guess that?
Cavitation.
That is
Cavitation.
cavitation. Okay, so the inception, the starting of the cavitation. So it is all because of the low pressure regions. And when you write cavitation, you should say it is a destructive phenomena taking place in liquid flow system. You should underline that, because you don't have cavitation in compressors and fans. Wherever liquid flow is there, obviously it is liquid flow because only liquids will boil. Okay, so cavitation is a destructive phenomena taking place in liquid flow systems. It may be even in some valves or in other pipes where one may have such low pressure. And a particular impeller without cavitation, if it works for 5 years, with cavitation, maybe in a month's time, it will fail. Okay, so when there is severe cavitation. So this cavitation has to be controlled. Any doubt? No doubts? Okay, can you hear at least? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I think we'll close the class today. Okay.
Okay.